going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're in the shop and we're going to continue working on the clean slate XJ build. The last video you saw me putting the truss and the C gussets on that Dana 30 that we're going to be running in the front, and since that video what I've done is I have painted the axle with weldable paint. That way I can go ahead and whenever it's time to put on this above the axle track bar mount, I can just very lightly clean it up and it'll weld right to it. But tonight we are going to start getting the Iron Rock Offroad 3-link all together. That way we can kind of slide this axle up underneath it and hopefully get this thing on its own weight by the end of this video. Front, not the rear. It's gonna kind of be Carolina squatting. Check out the new shirts. I got work shirts made finally. I got tired of messing up all my t-shirts out here. I also cleaned up my shop a little bit too. And it looks so much better in here. Oh. But these shirts are awesome. Check them out. I've already got them dirty. I got my little tombstone with my welder dude up there. And then on the back, I got beef cheeks on the back with the 6 Feet Under Fab logo. Be real nice. So we also had some other parts come in for this. We've got the Iron Rock Off-Road exhaust system, and I believe this is the belly pan that will go in the rear 4-link right there. So if you are new to the channel and you have not seen what we're doing to this Jeep, we're putting the Iron Rock Off-Road 3-link in the front, and we're also going to be doing a leaf spring delete in the rear, and we're going to be putting coil springs and a 4-link in the rear along with that truss welded on the rear axle. And it is going to be a really, really cool build whenever I get done. This was a completely stock Cherokee. This is probably one of the cleanest Jeeps that I've ever had in my shop. And it looks really good. Like there's barely any dents or anything like that. And I don't even think it had like a leveling kit on it. But the first video I did on this, I did the weld-on unibody stiffeners. And then the second video, I did this axle. So if you did watch the last video, the last thing y'all saw me do was weld on these C gussets. I did put new ball joints in. I did put the Iron Rock Off-Road flex joint right there. So now what I need to do is I need to figure out exactly, with this Iron Rock kit, it did come with a lot. And so now I really need to come in here and figure out which one of these kits goes with the front suspension here. So Iron Rock's kits do come incomplete, and you actually have to put together the flex joints themselves, which is fine because it kind of makes you learn how to fix them if you ever have to do that in the future. And they're really simple to put together as long as you do it correctly. I think that's those two, and that should be the upper right there. I have to verify the numbers, but I just didn't want to open up all this mess and have all the bags sitting here. So Iron Rock's really cool. They put the numbers in there. So you got two 127s right there, and then the 122, the 168. That's all the hardware for the front. Yeah, this is really top quality, top notch stuff right here. And there's the 8.5-inch coils that we're going to be running. And pretty much everything like this way is like steering, and for the rear 4-link, like that's the 4-link stuff. So these are what we'll be attaching to the unibody, those two mounts right there. And then this is going to be your new Crossmember. So you're not going to be using the factory Crossmember. You're actually going to be using this one from Iron Rock Off-Road, which is a heck of a lot beefier than what came from the factory. But so now I'm going to show you how to get these joints installed. I've got the lower front control arm right here, and then I have the 127 pack. I'm just going to get everything kind of laid out. These are super simple to put together. And what I like about them is they're super easy to rebuild. So, several years down the road, if you just never grease them or they wear out, they're super easy and inexpensive to build and put back together. All right, make sure you got all your nylon nuts right there. So the first thing that we're going to do is just take some bearing grease, and you don't have to put as much as I'm putting on here. You just want to lightly coat it. Just make sure every little bit is covered in grease. This may be a little too much, but it'll be okay. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and coat the inside of this right there, and also this one. First thing is you want to just drop this in there. You see how this has a tapered edge, and that just goes on that uniball right there. And then this actually slides in just like that. And then I'm just going to spin it y'all's way, that way y'all can see. I'm going to take this one and drop in just like that. So now they're kind of meeting right there. So then I'm going to take this washer with the holes in it. There's 2 of these in these packs. And I'm just going to drop it in. And so now what you have to do is you have to line the holes so that it passes through on this side right here. And so now I'm going to take the other one right there and drop on. Now I'm going to take, and what's really cool about this is that whenever you put that nut on there, is that the outside right here actually holds it down, so you don't have to put a wrench on it, which is really cool. Very thoughtful. Now I'm just going to drop all of these in just like this. Just drop them all in. Now I can flip it over and get all the nuts on. So what's neat about these is they have the channels that the bolts go in. And what I like to do is line it up on one of these channels. That way, I like to line this grease fitting up with one of those channels. That way I know that the grease will get pushed in all the way. And so the grease fitting on this one is right here. So we're not going to put that on just yet, because I just wanted to verify that the channel is where I want it. And so now I'm just going to slowly tighten these up. And I'm just going to go in a crisscross pattern, and I'm just kind of going until they become a little resistant, and then we're going to torque these down. And so you can see right here, I did orient the grease fitting pointed down, and I just need to verify whenever I put it in the vehicle that I am able to access this grease fitting right here. So I've got this set at 50 inch-pounds. And I'm just going to go in a crisscross pattern here. All right, so now that I've got all these down to 50, I'm going to go up to 55. So the instructions say that you need to add grease to it once it's set up and torqued down to 55. So I've got plenty of grease in there, but I'm just going to hit it with a grease gun just in case there's any little bit that I missed, and then we'll retorque this down to 55 inch-pounds. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the upper control arm and the other lower control arm. Now we're up underneath the XJ here, and I have the transmission picked up off of the factory Crossmember right here. So now we're going to take this Crossmember and take it out because we have the weight of the drivetrain on this lift right here. If you're not familiar, there's 4 13mm bolts that you have to remove, and then you can pick this up. and then this will come down. What do you think? Yeah. And we're also going to be taking the transmission mount. We're going to be putting the one that we got from Iron Rock. It actually came with the kit that the customer ordered. From the factory, they come with studs that come out of the unibody, and you actually have to take these out. There's a couple of ways to do it. You can either put a nut on it and weld it up and then take it out, or you can put the bolt back on it and tighten it up, and then put another nut on it and then tighten those up together, and then it'll come right out. Just get it right there before it touches the unibody. And then I'm gonna pop this other one just like that. So now you just gotta tighten these up. So now it should come right out. This is the bracket that we will be putting on the driver's side right here, and what that does is where the factory crossmember bolts go, this actually bolts up to it right there, and then pushes up against the unibody. I don't have it lined up, but there's also a third bolt that goes in there right there, and you actually have to drill this out and tap it. And I got to look at the instructions and see what tap we have to use. But the first obvious big issue is that with the Barnes stiffeners, there's a section that is cut out for the factory crossmember. And if I put this up here like that, then there's going to be a huge gap, well, probably a 3/16 of a gap right there. So I need to find a piece of 3/16 metal to put right here to make this so that it all sits flush and all nice and pretty. So I need to, basically I'm gonna have to fabricate a piece of metal to go right here and drill 2 holes in it, and then we'll be able to put this all in. So I found a pretty easy solution to my unibody stiffener issue for right here. I actually had an extra set of unibody stiffeners off of an old project. The company that I bought them from accidentally sent me 2 driver sides, and when I contacted them about it, they told me just to keep them and they'd send me a new set. So this is a perfect opportunity to use this because it already has the factory bolts already ready to go. So what I did was I just traced it out, and now I'm just going to cut all this out and then we'll get it in the Jeep. So we got this drilled out, and now we're tapping it with a, what is this, 7/16. And this is where the most forward bolt will go in the unibody. And whenever you're tapping, just make sure you go back and forth on the tap. All right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get these plates in, and then we'll go ahead and get this mount on right here. Just getting everything kind of mocked up right now, and it's going together really good, which is very unusual for me. And so I'm just going to put these up here right now, and I'm not tightening them down because I want just a little bit of adjustment. That way when we put that cross member up, we can kind of fine tune it, and that way we make sure that everything is perfectly centered and where we want it. But the little spacers that I made to go up there, they go in perfect. It's like they were made for it. They were made for that section, but I got lucky there. But I don't have any clearance issues. Still got some movement, which is exactly what we want. So now we're going to throw the passenger side on, and then we'll get that cross member up. In the kit, it does come with these blocks right here. These are spacers that you can use for the cross member if you're not going to be running a slip yoke eliminator. We already have installed the slip yoke eliminator. We actually put the transfer case in last night, And so we're not going to be using these. The kit does come with 2 sets of carriage bolts. That's the other one right there. It's obviously a lot smaller, but we're going to be going with the smaller one since we're not going to be using this right here. So we'll just keep this. We'll turn this into a dirt bike part or something. Pretty average. One thing we almost forgot was the exhaust hanger plate, and this is the factory one right here. We do have to grind off this little nipple right there so that everything sits flush, and then I'll paint it, and then we'll go ahead and I'll show you how we install it. I've got this all ground down smooth, and then I hit it with some paint. That way we don't cause any rust issues. And now we're gonna get all this back in. You got the bolts for it? So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to line everything up and get all these adjusted where they need to be, you know, forward to back and side to side, because it does have a little bit of adjustment just for, you know, I'm assuming install purposes. But we just want to make sure before we lower the drivetrain down onto it that, you know, everything is tight and perfectly aligned. So now we're going to lower the drivetrain down onto it. It lines up with this Crossmember perfect. So just go down slow. Ha! That's awesome. That is so cool. That was probably the easiest Crossmember install I've ever done. So now that this is on, we're gonna go ahead and get these control arms in. And don't forget to put those 4 nuts transmission mount right there. So before we install these, I'm going to run these all the way back out and then put some anti-seize on them. And per the instructions, it says that the lower control arm lengths for a 8-inch lift, the lower control arms need to be 37 inches long. The upper control arm needs to be 37 3/4. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the upper. I'm just going to run it all the way out and put anti-seize on it, and I'm going to get this one at 37 3/4 inches. And if you've never done that before, you go from bolt hole, the center of this bolt hole, to the center of the other side bolt hole. One more thing we're going to do before we install the control arms is we have to drill this out to a 1/2-inch hole because we upgraded the flex joint on the Dana 30, and this just has the factory bushing hole. And so now I'm going to take a 1/2-inch drill bit and I'm going to go ahead and drill all this out. We've got this all drilled out. Now we can test it. It goes in. So now we're going to get the control arms in the Jeep. So just so you know, the rubber end goes towards the axle and the flex joint connects to the cross member. So when you're installing these, I know there's anti-seize everywhere. I'm going to clean that up. But when you're installing these, you want to make sure that the clamp is facing down and that your zerk fitting is facing down. So now we're just going to slide this up in here, just like that. My trusty assistant, I'm gonna put the bolt in. Ha-ha! So now we're gonna get the passenger side in. All right. So that can just kind of rest right there. So now we're going to lower the Jeep down and then bring this front axle a little closer and see if we can get some bolts in. So we got the front springs in just to make sure everything's clearing like we want it, and it's clearing just fine. So now we're gonna put the front shocks in. That way we can pick the Jeep up and get this table out from underneath it. The shocks that we're gonna be using are these really super cool, the Trail Tamer 2.0s. These are the shocks that the customer got through Iron Rock Off-Road, and these are awesome. Holy crap. He's gonna be able to launch this thing. And it's like perfectly color matched of the Jeep. That's pretty cool. So we're gonna get these shocks in and then we'll get this table out. So Patrick's working on getting the shocks in. And man, this thing looks awesome. Holy crap. Those shocks are sweet. I like how the rear is like still factory, like still tires on it and everything. That's awesome. All right, so we got the top of the shocks on, and so now I'm going to pick up on the Jeep and hopefully get that table out from underneath it. So here it is sitting on its own weight for the first time with the Iron Rock 8-inch and the 3-link. And holy crap, does it look awesome. Sorry for the AC noise, it's super humid in here right now. But the arms are up underneath it. I've just got them there just for extra support, but they are loose. And then I've got the rear on jack stand. So right now, you know, in the front, it's sitting on its own weight to weld up over the axle track bar mount. But holy crap, this thing is awesome looking. Now that I have the Jeep sitting on its own weight, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put in the locking nuts on the control arms. You want to do this when it's on the ground and you have these Allen nuts, these Allen screws right here, and you have these grade 8 nuts. And so what you do, you slide the nut inside of that jam piece and then just tighten it up. Just make sure you put a little bit of anti-seize on these. So I'm just going to get them snug, and then I'm going to come back with a torque wrench and torque them all down. And let's see, and one thing I want to show y'all, and it's very important, is that whenever you put these flex joints in, you want to make sure that they're straight and pointing at the axle. You just want to make sure that they're even on both sides, just like these are right here. And something else that I forgot to say too, whenever you're doing the Crossmember, just make sure that the Iron Rock Off-Road symbol is facing the front of the vehicle. It's very important that the Iron Rock cutout right here is facing the front.
This is very important.
So now what I'm gonna do is this one, the upper, it has a bolt that tightens down this right here. It's basically jam nuts that won't come out. It's got the little ears right there where the bolt cinches down and won't let this wobble or anything like that. Personally, I like this design better than a jam nut because these aren't gonna loosen up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this one in and wipe everything down, get all the anti-seize off the arms and stuff like that. Just wanna make it look nice and clean. So these tires may look familiar to you. They are actually off of Patrick's XJ, the black and silver XJ, the one that I called the Shopkeep XJ. And they are a 35 by 1250, a 15-inch wheel, BFG KM3. And they look really good on here. This thing is definitely what they call a Carolina squat right now. That looks so goofy. That's awesome. So I've gone around and measured, and everything is exactly where I want it. The axle is, you know, centered in the wheel well. My caster's correct. I mean, all the measurements from Iron Rock were spot on. So that's really cool. You can see there's no binding. There's plenty of room for the drive shaft, even though this is a low pinion Dana 30. So what I plan on working on now, before I do anything else, is I need to get this track bar situation figured out. So this is the cab fab over the axle mount right here. And this is the exact same one that I put on the Shopkeep XJ. And it is really good and beefy. But it's gonna go in this location right here. I don't know exactly where, but what I want to do is I want to get the track bar bolt up there and get the track bar in and just kind of mock everything up and see exactly where it wants to go. So I know I've got the axle centered up underneath the Jeep. I want the track bar to tell me where it wants to go. That way I'm not forcing it and I'm not putting it somewhere where it's not gonna like it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tack it up and then, you know, center up the axle and everything. And then I may actually have to take the whole axle back out to fully weld it if I can't get to it with it picked up on the lift. So with the cab fab kit, it does come with the grade 8 hardware and the misalignment spacers and some washers. So I'm just gonna open one of these up and get the misalignment spacer in the heim joint. This is gonna go right there. It's really heavy. Oh. All right. Now I'm gonna do the same thing for the bottom side. Got the same thing on the bottom side. And so it looks like it's gonna go right about here. But I'm gonna have to cut these off right there because of the truss that I welded on. If I hadn't put the truss on, I could put it right on and weld it and call it a day. But because of the truss, yeah, I'm gonna have to cut those off. So you can see right here, those are the pieces that are causing the clearance issues. It's got them on both sides, but that way, the reason they do that is so you have more welding surface. It's just a little more biting surface for this mount. In our case, I'm just going to be putting it right here and then welding it to this truss because I painted it with a weldable paint. So I was kind of thinking ahead a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut these off just a little bit. I don't want to cut them off too much, but I may cut them off about 1/2 inch each right there. And then it might can get us a little bit closer to where we want it. So I've got these clearanced and I've got them marked where the track bar liked it. And look at this, it fits like absolutely perfect. And so I've got so much welding surface, which is awesome. Let me zoom y'all in. So I've got so much welding surface. I've got right here, I've got on the back side, back here, I've got right there, right here on the inside, on the back side, over here, I can weld. I mean, there is literally so much that I can weld to keep this thing super strong. And so it'll plop in. So you can see right here, everything is like super happy. Then I may go ahead and throw a tack weld on it. Man, that looks really good. Before I weld this on, I need to tack weld it together and weld it on the back side. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm probably not going to be able to get to these welds right here once it's on the axle. What I did was I put the heim joint in and just gave myself a little bit of room. That way I have plenty of room to get this in and out here. That way I have plenty of room like that. But I went ahead and threw some tack welds on there. That way I know where it needs to go. And so what I'll do is I'll take it to my workbench and I'll go ahead and fully weld this up and all on the back side right there. That's just one less thing I'll have to weld once it's on the axle. So I got this all welded up right here. I've got good passes there, welded on the inside, and then I've welded all of this so that way whenever it's up here, I probably won't have enough room to get to that. Man, this thing is hot. But I did clean a little bit of that paint off right there. That way it'll arc a little quicker. And just gonna verify everything. So basically what you want is you just want this bracket in line with this bracket right here, the upper track bar mount. You don't want it, you don't want this one, down here or something like that, where you don't want it like, you know, you just want them in the same plane. So I'm gonna put the track bar in. I've got it where I want it, and now I'm just gonna throw a tack weld up there. And now I'm just going to just verify all my clearances, make sure there's nothing in the way. Now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the whole Jeep back up and see how much I can weld without taking this axle out. If I can get away without taking this axle out, I will. I just want to make sure that I'm getting all of the welds that need to be done. And it looks like it, if I play my cards right, if I pick the Jeep up, I can actually reach up over the axle and get my welding gun in there and get all the welding done that I need to do. So I ended up getting everything welded, and I think it turned out fantastic. So now I'm going to take my track bar, slide that in. Aha! So I'm just going to put the washers and everything on, but I'm not going to tighten everything down just yet. I just want to put the nuts on it. That way I know where they are. So with these track bars like this, I can adjust where the Jeep sits above the axle. So say that, oh man, you know, I'm a 1/16 of an inch, you know, to the driver's side. All I have to do is just pull it like this, and the whole Jeep will just come right over. So this track bar pretty much controls where the axle is up underneath the Jeep. That is a huge feat. I'm super pumped about that. Man, that looks really good. I kind of want to show y'all a sneak peek. Check this out. So I got some shirts designed for the Dead Plates Jeep that I'm building. So this is the front. It's got the Dead Plates license plate right there. And I'll show you what the back looks like. Ain't that cool? So it's got Dead Plates. And it's in a cemetery. So I'm going to be doing a kind of a limited run on those. I'll be selling them locally and stuff like that. So if you live local to Eastern North Carolina and you want a Dead Plate shirt, just hit me up.